Opus Echo of Starsong is a narrative puzzle adventure game that's 95% narrative, 5% puzzle. The game is designed to be lightweight on the puzzle and resource management side of things that you have as you travel through this adventurous world, so that you can focus on the story, because the story is why we're all here. And it's the third game in the Opus world and pantheon of games. They're all standalone though, so you don't need to have played the previous two, and this is, in my humble opinion, the best one of the three that I've played, so why not start with the best? You play as Jun, and Jun has been exiled from his clan because he was a bit rubbish, it seems. He was bullied as a child, there was lots of sons all vying for clan leadership, and he was the odd one out and ruined everything. So in exile with his guardian Kay, the two of them have decided to become runners. What this means is that they travel around the stars and solar system, finding caves to mine their resources. And the main resource in the Opus game is Lumen. Lumen reminds me very much of the life stream from Final Fantasy VII, in that it's like crystallized energy that contains memories and souls. And they're quite difficult to mine and discover because they're locked behind sealed caves. In order to open those sealed caves' doors, you need to record voices from what are called witches, and this is where the secondary character comes into play, Edda. Edda is a witch who has, just like Jun, been pretty much exiled from her world too. She doesn't have a voice that is capable of reaching that top tier echelon, so she was considered damaged goods and exiled away from her witching tower. And so these two combine with Kay and Remy, who is their ship's pilot, to form a quartet to go around the solar system and go and find Lumen and get their riches and have some kind of self-redemption. There's other story arcs going on at the same time, but that's the main thrust for the game originally. The world itself is painted out to be a world for you to uncover and discover, with loads of lore about factions and war between different stars and planets and colonies, and there's space pirates. And as you travel from place to place, you will be able to go exploring to find out more about this. You have a complete memories compendium full of things that you can pick up along the way, and that can be resources, that can be booklets, that can be little memoirs or recorded memories that you've got everywhere. It's just text-based or picture-based from murals that you might read and discover as you traverse around these different caves. But it all builds out a world of intrigue that you can get immersed in around you, and it's really well done how it's constantly drip feeding new things to you. Whilst the story plays out, and it plays out excellently, you will be moving around the game and actually doing things whilst that story unfolds, which makes it more easier to say that this is a narrative adventure rather than it being a visual novel, even though 95% of the time you'll be reading text in the story. What you'll be mainly doing is moving around caves and solving frequency puzzles, is the best way to describe it. These boil down into two different types. The first is to record a witch's star song, and this involves rotating around light orbs so that you can see which one the voice is emanating from, and then moving it into the centre of the screen so that you can then create a nice little pattern. That pattern then forms like light beams that you can then attach to Jun's sceptre. And when you want to open a gate, he raises it up and it emits these lights out, and you rotate them around and change the volume of the song so that you can line up the bars of light from your sceptre with the patterns that are on the gates. It's very easy to get to grips with, and it shouldn't cause you too much problem. The other element of the game that is much more like an actual game is the resource management side of things, because you need to manage your fuel, your armour, and your exploration kits as you travel around the solar system. You do this on this beautiful navigation panel where you can echolocate out or send out poor old Edda with her voice to try and find new locations for you. and then they'll appear on the map, and then you have to traverse between the two. But obviously you don't want to get stranded with no fuel, or get hit by a random enemy attack that then makes you lose all your armour. Your ship has stats, essentially, that you can upgrade, and every encounter has like a random number generator that you can stack in your favour by improving the stats on your ship. Think of it like rolling a dice, but every time you upgrade your ship, the dice numbers on your dice are much higher than where you would have been if you hadn't. And so when you go exploring on different caves or planets or gassy masses, you'll be wanting to use your exploration kits to find all of this equipment that you can then trade in at shops and then buy all of these upgrades as you go along. It's really well thought out, and traversing around the solar system, finding the bits and bobs that you need is like a little secondary task that plays in quite nicely to the main story, because the main story takes you all over the shot quite naturally. Alongside that, your characters also have stats too, and so you can spend money by trading in goods and getting the money for it to then purchase amulets to also increase their stats when they're having individual kind of narrative moments, normally based when you're going splunking and cave diving. If you're here for the story, don't panic. It's really lightly done, and it's a real light touch to just traversing around everywhere. And you'll spend most of your time basically just enjoying the story itself, which is why we're all here. I do have one niggle around Opus Echo of Starsong, and it's around the save points though. Saving only occurs when you're moving between locations or ending specific like points of story matter. And the problem with that is that if you're in the middle of exploring somewhere, or you want to stop in the middle of an exposition dump, then you can't, because it's locked away in only the menu that you can get when you're navigating around the solar system. So I was like, I need to get away and do some bits and bobs, but some of these like big moments and scenes are upwards of half hour sometimes, and you can't stop to save. So just be aware that when you start Opus, like, make sure you're about for a good half an hour, because otherwise you'll end up having to like proper button mash through some of the text, and the game doesn't take nicely to that, because it's one of those gentle, reflective experiences that's trying to pull at your emotional heartstrings, not something that you're trying to button mash your way through so that you can get back to where you were before. That niggle aside, this game is superb, a really excellent example of trying to branch out from a visual novel style experience with some light gameplay mechanics to keep you entertained and enthralled whilst enjoying the world around you. Fantastic. It's out now on PC. You guys take care. Bye for now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.